these sessions in here will be recorded as well. There is a code of conduct. I've been asked to read out to you that all attendees read in here to our code of conduct dedicated to providing a harassment-free event and inclusive event experience. You can read that at augmentedworldexpo.com, anti-harassment, and a reminder of the pool party, which you've just heard this morning. And finally, I'd like to thank the Adobe Titanium and Gold sponsors for their support. Euphoria, Bosch, Daiquiri, Copin, Microsoft, ODG, Qualcomm, and Viking. Whew. Let's get on with the proper stuff. Thank you, thank you. And it's me. So, for you people who don't know me, my name is Mark Sage, as I mentioned, the Executive Director of the area, and I'm going to be talking to you today about fulfilling the potential of enterprise AR. This is the third time I've been to AWE, and every year it grows bigger and bigger, and I've been lucky enough to do this talk on numerous occasions. So I'm just going to talk about where I see the enterprise ecosystem at the moment and the work that the area and its members are doing to help stimulate it and advance it. So, for people who don't know what the area is, we're the only global membership-funded non-profit alliance dedicated to helping accelerate the adoption of enterprise AR. And we do that by supporting the growth of a comprehensive ecosystem. So, let's get going. We all know that to survive in this global economy, that companies need to be operating at peak performance. They need to be looking at new technology and new business solutions to make real tangible differences. And to be honest, AR is one of many different technologies and solutions that you can use. AR has some great advantages, and let's just talk very generically and very quickly about some of the improvements and productivity improvements you get by AR. So you can present only the latest, most relevant and contextual information and data to the user when it's needed. You help to reduce costs by enabling experts to be at the disposal of the entire workforce, and benefit from real-time compliance by capturing and recording and certifying processes immediately. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are practitioners of AR, be it an enterprise or a provider. To support increases in performances, companies are also looking to become more efficient, basically to do more with less resources, and AR can help with that objective as well. Again, a few more examples: reducing time and improving the efficiency of infrequent and complex tasks. And I emphasize the infrequent part as well. Preventing human error and miscalculation, and lowering the impact of task interruption errors. What does the ecosystem look like at the moment? Okay, and this kind of reflects what the area membership looks like. There are a number, and a growing number, of enterprises who have purchased and deployed AR solutions. Lots and lots of providers, and that's growing all the time. And we also work with non-commercial organizations, government agencies, research institutes, universities are often on the leading edge thinking around AR. So it's a really good mix of bringing all those companies together. Where are we at the moment? Well, what are enterprises saying? Well, it's not that easy. There are still problems. Enterprises are taking a long time to make decisions, and to use the famous Gartner's hype cycle curve, AR is still in the trough of disillusionment. Has been for a while. When I'm talking to the enterprise members, one of the key problems they talk about is just not enough neutral information to allow business decision makers to make informed decisions to invest in AR. Okay, and that's something we've been working on. What does that mean from an AR provider perspective? Well, it's difficult to find new customers. The sales cycles are long and complicated. So, it's a tough gig. But having said all of that, there are developing some great use cases and case studies. Sorry, can we move that slide on, please? There we go. Thank you. This is a great report. If you haven't read it, please do download it. It was done by Jim Hopperman and Harvard Business Review. It shows some real tangible benefits that companies are making. And I'm lucky enough to see this all the time with the area members. And these are huge figures. And as I say, don't take my word for it. The source, every organization needs an augmented reality strategy. Please download it. So, we're moving forward. The enterprise ecosystem is moving forward. And how I like to explain it is we're in this developing ecosystem phase. And how do you kind of summarize what does that look like? Well, we're getting clarity on best practice. The best tools for the job are coming to the forefront. What I think is really important is language is now being shared by the executives and AR companies. They're actually talking, not in detailed technical language, but they're really beginning to understand the benefits. And I'm seeing this the world through. And key business decisions are being involved in making AR decisions. So I've mentioned what we are. What I'd like to do is go in a little bit of detail of the kind of things we're doing to help this ecosystem continue to develop. So we've been running about 4 years now, and we've been really helping innovative companies to invest in AR. And when it started, they really need to understand what was available, what use cases, what problems can be solved using AR, how to implement it, and most importantly, and I'll come back to this afterwards, if you're a business decision maker, you need to know the return on investment, or how much this stuff's going to cost and how much money am I going to make, or am I going to save, and that's really important from a business perspective. And actually what happened is we started to work together and started to discuss these things. We were building partnerships, co-innovation, really understanding the benefits of AR. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is that deep and open exchange of best practice, lessons learned, technology insights to really help this whole ecosystem, which ultimately will help enterprises implement AR and for this whole ecosystem to move forward. It's all about creating that bottom line benefit. Quick flash up of our members. I'm very proud to work with these companies, ranging from enterprises like Bosch and Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Newport News Shipbuilding, and Huawei, through providers of AR technology. You can read them all here: Upskill, PTC, XM Reality, to some startups are doing some amazing work in the space, to universities. I kind of mentioned wide scope. So we're growing all the time. It's very much a global organization. As I said, I'm very proud to work with them all. But what are we doing? Okay, I'm up here talking about all these things. What's actually the practicalities to help fulfill enterprise AR? Well, the first bit, as I mentioned earlier, is about that thought leadership content. Let's create that information that allows business decision makers to invest in AR. And yes, of course, there's news and blog articles, but really it's about those use cases. What are the problems being solved? What are the case studies? What technologies are needed? And more importantly, go back to that return on investment. We deliver that through multiple channels, webinars, social media, and things like that. The second one is bringing the members together to network. AWE is a great event, and we have many of our members here. But we also ran a workshop, we ran a workshop in Chicago earlier this year. We had a great number of enterprises and practitioners in AR working together. We talked about the use cases and defined them in more detail. But I think even more importantly, we started looking at some of the barriers to adoption, and I'll come back to that a little bit later because that's really important. What else does the ecosystem need? Well, we need to continue educating. We need to make sure there's a continued stream of skilled and knowledgeable workers in this space. So working with universities, educational organizations to help deliver the next set of workers. And then finally, in this kind of developing ecosystem, it's about reducing the barriers to adoption. Okay, and this is something we're focusing more and more on now. I just want to explain these in a little bit more detail. So what we've done is created a number of committees, which is a very English word, but groups of people focusing on these areas to really dive into the detail. Okay, I'm going to go through some of them a little bit more detail so you understand the kind of activities which is helping the ecosystem. So the first, research. It's about creating value-add research for the members that they can use to help develop their business. Well, it's a very simple setup. We basically say to all the members, what would you like to research? What do you need to research? Everyone gets an opportunity to pitch a research project. Everyone listens to them. The members vote on them. And then the one that gets the most votes, we go and deliver that research. You can see some of the research projects that we've already delivered, and I'll just go through those in a little bit more detail. The first one is around security in wearables. Believe you me, there's lots of enterprises doing prototypes and trials and prototypes, but one of the key issues when you come to full deployment will be security in an enterprise. Okay, so what are the current challenges? What kind of information we can provide enterprise security IT teams to do some evaluation on it. So later today, one of the members or the member that created or did this research on behalf of the area will be speaking about security. Yeah, believe you me, it's an issue. It's an issue for enterprises. So it gives you an idea of some of the comments from the members themselves. The second research project, which we completed in the second half of 2017, was about enterprise AR ROI. Wouldn't it be great to have a model which needs to be developed and continue being developed, but you could actually plug in some figures and get an ROI calculation out of it. The kind of thing that enterprises can use to build business cases, or providers can work with enterprises to again build business cases. So it's been a really exciting and interesting journey. We have a calculator, and I think what's been quite interesting as we've gone through the practice, gone through the process, is looking at some of the best practice in creating this report. So what kind of is our, and to give you an idea, this is kind of how the model sets up in terms of putting the costs in, looking at some of the financial metrics. And it is very much a case of the working with the potential customer to go through the step-by-step guide, and then the return investment plots out at the end. Moving on to the research we're doing at the moment. Sorry. Again, we've identified as safety as one of the issues. How do we go beyond these prototypes into fully deployed solutions? Safety is an issue. So we've been building a model to look at these exactly safety and human factors for industrial use cases. It's a kind of a model that allows you to look at a project plan and actually evaluate, both from a hardware and a software, potential or actual software issues. So this is a kind of, it's still in development, but it's going to be a great model that you can reuse time and time again and build some standards or build some business standards around kind of safety or the evaluation of safety. So I'd say it's in development, but really kind of excited at the work that's been done on this, and something that will help make sure that devices and software have been thought about in terms of the safety environment. Okay, and just to emphasize the work, those research projects are for members only. We will be providing some summaries and synopsis for the rest of the ecosystem, but the real value is for the members. Let's quickly talk about the requirements committee. From an ecosystem perspective, wouldn't it be great if there was a kind of a standard set of requirements that anybody could then take and download and add their value add on top of it? There's some standard kind of requirements that's needed from any project. So we've been working on that, as well as first helping to define a kind of a standard set of use cases that you can search on by industry and by technology and things like that. Again, just helping educate enterprises on the kind of problems that can be solved by using AR. We're back to providing this content that allows business decision makers to make informed decisions. We've been developing the requirements. We've worked with a project with Caterpillar, Procter & Gamble, and Lockheed Martin, and they came up with some great statements. But the problem is with statements or requirement statements is that there's no context to them. To say you need a 12-hour battery life may not always be true. So, we've been discussing with the members saying, look, we need to take this into the next level of detail. We need this kind of schema of needs. So we're beginning to add content or putting an infrastructure in place and actually asking you, the ecosystem, to start putting content in place so we can capture this information and make it available for anybody. You can go in and search on different criteria and get a kind of set of requirements that are relevant to your problem that you're trying to solve. So work in progress, but I'm kind of really excited of how this is tracking, because capturing all this information is only going to benefit the ecosystem. Just picking up on the final kind of two committees, again, trying to reduce these barriers to adoption, looking at areas like safety and security. I've mentioned them before, but we've now got teams building, looking at identifying actual and potential, classifying and prioritizing those, and then working with the organizations, kind of outside of our AR ecosystem, security companies and safety companies, to make sure they're aware, to working with the enterprise organizations as well. So these types of issues are thought about before trying to deploy solutions to the wider ecosystem. Okay, so lots of work going on there. To start with, a lot of that will be about educating, so building infographics and providing the information you need, but then just capturing. Let's have somewhere we can capture this information and make it available to everybody. Cool, so quickly, just in terms of membership, we have different categories. We have a booth 100 there. I'm always happy to speak to anybody about what's happening in the enterprise ecosystem. What we've also looked at as well, we've also created is a membership for startups. We're all very passionate within the membership that we can enable those startups to help, give them those connections and work with them to help them move forward. So again, all of this is available. And I don't know what I'm doing for time because my clock is stopped, but yeah, okay. So that's basically what's happening in the enterprise AR ecosystem. I think we can actually slip over to Slido if anybody's got any questions. What I should have mentioned with Slido is that's the way we're going to ask questions through this whole track day and stuff like that. How does one reduce the cost of interactive enterprise content on AR? Yeah, it's a good question. What I can say is some of our members now are focusing purely on taking content out of enterprise systems and making it AR ready. One of the problems, and I haven't mentioned it in my talk, is that content is hidden in these big enterprise systems. If you can't access it, then the use cases tend to be a little bit standalone. But there are companies focusing on this space. So that's one of the areas working with companies. One of the other insights from the research project we did on the ROI is that please don't try and bundle your digitization of your content all into your AR use case. It ain't going to work, especially if your company is quite behind in terms of its digitization strategy. So digitizing your whole company data assets and then saying AR is going to make these benefits isn't going to work. Cool, okay, so I think I'm probably way past my time. Room 100. Please come and say hello. And now I'm going to quickly move on. I'm also chairing a day, so you'll see me a few times. So it's my honor to welcome Wolfgang Schlitz. So I try to, who's the founder and CEO of Reflect. And his talk's going to be about what Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple won't tell you about enterprise AR. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about it.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Mark, for